What's up, guys? Connor O'Hanlon here for another episode of the Greater Society podcast. We are live after 1 week break, the only week I believe I've taken off of a show, at least not a pre-recorded or something like that, in the entirety of the existence of this program, which is only a little over a year at this point. So, yeah, while you're here, if you want to support the show, just over our year anniversary, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I usually say that to the end, but while you're here, might as well do that, right? Tonight, we're going to be covering the historic, the monumental, federal indictment of the failed former president and now twice impeached and twice indicted Donald J. Trump. We will talk about other candidates hopping into the Republican primary. We'll talk about Cornell West running for the People's Party and then switching it to the Green Party and what I think of that. We will also talk about Pennsylvania Democrats once again coming in clutch in the House of Representatives, or the State House, I should say, the State House in Pennsylvania, leading the way. Of course, we have a split Congress, so the laws that they will be passing won't exactly become law, but it is something that we should look to as future laws. Hopefully, if we can flip a few seats in the state Senate here in Pennsylvania, we have Governor Shapiro for at least until 2026, which is weird. We don't talk about 2026 yet, so hopefully we don't have to talk about 26 for a little while, but like I said, if you're here watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and help us out. Hit the like button, and it'll help us go in the algorithm. I'll apologize in advance for sniffling and coughing and how I sound today. I don't know if it was the air quality or what last week, but it definitely messed up my sinuses. And I sound and feel like garbage, but I was not going to take off 2 weeks in a row, especially after the historic arrest of Trump yesterday. So, let us dive right into it. And the first thing, of course, is a little bit of explanation as to what has happened with President Trump. So, for those who have been maybe living under a rock for the last 6 months, Donald Trump has been indicted and arrested twice now. This year in 2023, the first time former President Trump was indicted was based on the hush money case to adult film actress Stormy Daniels and the alleged illegality of those payments and the commingling of funds and whatnot. That is a court the date for that court case is set for, I believe, March of 2024, which is about a year after his indictment and arrest became public. This is a case that is in the state of New York versus the one that we are going to be talking about today, which is a federal case. So this case is in regards to the raiding, if you want to call it that, of Mar-a-Lago, which is Trump's, golf course slash home slash whatever else you want to call it, headquarters, I guess. He had, I mean, it's not even, I guess, alleged at this point, but he had stolen documents, and, this is where the trial will go about the intent, which is why this is illegal. I'll loop back to that. But the intent to basically take documents, take things that are supposed to be public record, be under the Presidential Records Act, that should be held within the Library of Congress or another, presidential library. Basically, records that were classified, highly classified, top secret, etc. And just more normal stuff, but they're still considered classified and should be returned. These documents were obtained by the FBI, as I alluded to, through a raid, as you guys all recall. I believe it was in November of last year, right after the election, the midterm election, I want to say, if I'm correct. But it was right around that time. But this is the first time in the history of the United States that a former president is being federally charged with a crime like this. It is something that we should take very seriously, and I'll come back again, as I alluded to with the intent piece here. I'll come back to like why it's unprecedented, and the comparisons, as you will see when we look at the right-wing reactions to this, are, oh, what about Biden? What about Hunter Biden? What about Hillary Clinton? What about Bill Clinton? What about Obama? Obama, as Trump would put it. And they're not equal. And the thing is like, I know people don't like hearing this from like a progressive or, a Democrat, but like and because I feel pretty confident about this, but if Joe Biden committed a crime, he should be charged and have the same due process as Trump. Because Trump is having a due process because he's gone through a federal grand jury. They suggested these charges, and he will have a trial. Now, the trial, I don't believe, has been set unless things have changed in the last day or two. But we will see as things evolve. Let's just take it, if it was a year out from the arrest, it will be in June of 2024. So these things are all starting to line up with 2024's election, specifically the primary election. And that's why maybe that's not why we see many more people jumping into the Republican primary, but it is definitely a factor in people considering it. So here's an article from Vox, explaining what the indictment is. So I will zoom in for those watching or viewing online. Here we go. Special Counsel Jack Smith, which is the most generic possible name that you could get, but it works, I suppose. His indictment of former President Donald Trump in the classified documents case investigation was unsealed Friday, and it is detailed and damning. The indictment alleges that while out of office, that's a key part, Trump deliberately kept many documents involving military, nuclear, and intelligence secrets. It makes the case that he knew full well some of the information was classified. Down here we go. Overall, Smith's team has charged Trump with 37 counts, accusing him of unauthorized retention of defense information, conspiring to obstruct justice, withholding government documents, scheming to conceal information from a grand jury, and causing false statements to be made to the government. 30, I believe, 31 of them, I believe. It doesn't say, let me see if it says it in this so I can make sure I'm exactly correct. But I believe it's 31. Let me see if I can control F it. 31. Smith filed separate charges against Trump for unauthorized retention of each of 31 documents. Well, never mind. That's not it. Yeah, so it doesn't say it exactly, but I believe these are under the Espionage Act, which I think 31 of them are specifically tied to that. Let me see if I can find that in here. Nope. One way or the other, you'll have to take my word for it or Google the specific 31. But these are serious charges, and I was watching I was watching many of the reactions over the last couple of days, but specifically, I was watching a lot of right-wing reactions, a lot of alternative media reactions, and I watched CNN the other day. I believe it was yesterday. I guess he was only arrested yesterday, right? So, but we've known this over the last couple of days. So, the one reaction that I saw that was very, very telling. Well, also I should note that Trump's lawyers quit. So 2 of Trump's lawyers quit on Friday after the indictment was revealed. But immediately after watching this, once all the indictment charges were laid out last night, a legal analyst and a legal expert, one that I believe was formerly working with Trump or somehow around the Trump apparatus, noted that none of the lawyers want to touch us with a 10-foot pole, like they're the Grinch, and it's because it's such a straightforward and such a deep level of evidence-based case, because Trump is on record. He has been recorded by, I believe it's Mark Meadows, who is his former chief of staff. Again, I have brain fog right now, so double check that. But I believe it's Mark Meadows, his former chief of staff, who was writing a book about his time in the White House. They have the authors of that, because people don't actually write for some reason, all these people don't write their actual autobiographies. They have ghostwriters. So the ghostwriters have this record of Trump saying basically, oh, you can't look at this document. You're not supposed to see this. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to see this. But here they are, basically. And CNN obtained that as well. All of this is just compounding evidence as to the guilt or the potential guilt of Trump with this case. So let's go into some of the reaction about this arrest. Okay, so today I should note is Trump's birthday. So this is a birthday celebration for Trump here. So let's take a glance at some of an overview from Democracy Now!'s coverage on the Espionage Act piece of this. And then we'll go into some of the right wing, because this is the only leftist-ish take I have on this. Any truth in chat here? Any truth that Smith was instated by Trump himself during his tenure as president? That would be poetic justice if true. I don't believe he was, because I think the special counsel was appointed following the raid of Mar-a-Lago. I'd have to double check that, but I believe that the special counsel, because remember that there is a special counsel looking into Biden's handling of documents as well. And this is where it's very clear, they're not apples to apples comparisons, because one is being clearly intentful and there is a clear motive for hiding and holding these documents and not giving them back. But yes, as Mickey, as you're saying, sometimes life is stranger than fiction. You could not write, if you were writing a political thriller, I don't know that you could write some of this stuff where you say, we're going to have a president impeached twice and get arrested twice and possibly get arrested twice more. in the next year before a potential re-election of him. Let's not forget that Trump has still has, and we will talk about this more when we get to the presidential candidate piece, but Trump still has a vast lead in the GOP primary. So we're not out of this yet. But here is Democracy Now!'s coverage about the Espionage Act portions of these charges.
So you have Donald Trump pleading not guilty to 37 charges.
I should also say that the plea where he said not guilty, he didn't say it. He didn't say a word in the court. He did not say a word reported, like allegedly and apparently, whatever qualifiers I need to say here. But his lawyer had to say it for him. That's the only thing. And he just did not speak anything else.
Charges, Chip. 31 of them related to the Espionage Act. Can you talk about the significance of this and the significance?
At least I was right. It was 31 charges on the Espionage Act.
Of him walking out of court and compare it to other cases you've been involved with.
Well, it's very significant because here we have a man who, when he was president, his administration presided over 5 different Espionage Act prosecutions. Trump, in that clip you said you played, said the Espionage Act applies to traitors and spies. Not one of those prosecutions was of a traitor or a spy. They were of Reality Winner, a whistleblower. They were of Daniel Hale, a whistleblower who gave information about the drone program to the public because his conscience was so shocked by the civilian casualties in it. You had Terry Albury, FBI agent who was disturbed by the domestic war on terror and the surveillance of the Muslim community and the evisceration of the Bill of Rights. You had Joshua Schulte, who was accused and convicted of giving information to WikiLeaks, but he denies it was him. And then you have Julian Assange, the very first time in U.S. history a journalist has been indicted under the Espionage Act. And all of the charges against Assange pertain to 2010 to 2011 revelations about U.S. war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan, the U.S. policies at Guantanamo, and these really awful, corrupt backroom deals that the State Department was involved in. So Donald Trump's administration loved the Espionage Act. They didn't use it against traitors or spies. They used it against whistleblowers, journalists, and people accused of giving information to the media. So I think that's pretty significant in and of itself, particularly when you consider there's always been this dual-track system of justice under the Espionage Act. Prior to the Trump case—
and I'll pause it there before he goes on this, is the dual-tracked justice system that he is saying is not the two-tier justice system that the Republicans are alluding to. The Republicans have been hammering home that there is a two-tier justice system, which is co-opting leftist and liberal and, anybody with a reasonable take on the justice system and saying that, oh, there's a two-tier justice system. There's people that have a lot of money and have a lot of influence, and then there's the rest of us. That's the real two-tier justice system that we have in America, especially when you layer in racial bias. But specifically, when it comes to class, we see that there is a significant disparity in outcomes when it comes to the justice system. But what he is talking about here, and the Republicans are talking about, or what Chip is not talking about, I should say, but Trump and the Republicans are alluding to in the two-tiered justice system, is that they believe that conservatives are treated differently and that Trump is treated differently, even though, and I don't think I'm, giving away giant trade secrets here, but the Republicans would probably be better off not selecting Trump to be their candidate for president. So it's not like it's Democrats. I'm pretty sure that Joe Biden would probably rather run against Donald Trump in 2024. So making up charges and whatever they're trying to say that he's doing, which he's not, But even if he was doing that, he would be making his own life harder, in my opinion, and he'd be elevating somebody that I think is even worse than Trump in Ron DeSantis or possibly even other GOP presidential candidates. We don't know, but I can pretty much tell you for a fact that there's no two-tier justice system that puts conservatives at the bottom of it. That's a fact.
I've always argued, and I think the Trump case complicates this, I've always argued that Espionage Act prosecutions are inherently political prosecutions, right? If I'm in Barack Obama or George Bush's or Donald Trump's inner circle, and I go to the newspaper and I feed them classified information to promote the drone program, promote the investigation into Assange, or I go talk to Hollywood filmmakers to give them information so they can make a film whitewashing torture, I'm not going to be prosecuted. And the biggest leaker of U.S. government secrets is the U.S. government. Everyone in Washington knows that. But if I go and I'm a soldier in Afghanistan and I'm horrified by the civilian casualties in the drone program, and I watch Barack Obama on TV lie about how protective of human rights this international assassination program is, or I'm in Iraq and I'm horrified by the dehumanization of the Iraqi people and the violence inherent in that sort of neo-colonial occupation, and I go to the media with that information, they're going to prosecute me. So
that's the key difference here. Under the Espionage Act, as Chip Gibbons, who's the person speaking there, is talking about, the historic use of this act, especially under the Trump administration, is going after journalists and whistleblowers. And he is right. We have selective history. And I say we, the United States government, has a selective history of enforcing a lot of these laws, right? We could say, oh, there's a difference between Joe Biden and there's a difference between Donald Trump and there's, Hillary Clinton, and they have documents too. Well, they've been investigated, or they're being investigated, and they haven't been found to be guilty. So if Trump's is found to be not guilty, then so be it. But the two-tier justice system, the hypocrisies that are being alluded to, don't exist, and the ones that do exist are much different than what they're trying to tell you. The Republicans are trying to tell you, at least. Let's go to... here we go. This is an interesting take. Here is Lindsey Graham, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, on CNN, asked by Manu Raju about the indictment.
It seems to be selective prosecution. So President Trump has every right to defend himself. I think politically it probably makes him stronger in the primary. If the special counsel indicts President Trump in Washington, D.C. for anything related to January 6th.
Okay. You just heard that sentence, right? If Donald Trump basically gets in trouble for anything regarding January 6th, regarding January 6th, I'm going to rewind it so you can hear the whole sentence here, but this is what's going to happen, according to Lindsey Graham.
Indicts President Trump in Washington, D.C. for anything related to January 6th, that will be considered a major outrage by Republicans, because you could convict any Republican of anything in Washington, D.C., and I fear that's where this is going, as sort of an insurance policy.
Why? So I think it begs the question, why would the arrest or indictment of President or failed former President Donald Trump regarding January 6th, the insurrection, the treasonous insurrection at our Capitol building, why would that lead to the ability to indict or arrest any Republican in Washington? Why would that happen? How is that the possibility? Why is there not a follow-up question? How could that possibly be with just saying, oh, okay, look, let's be honest here. We'll look at the clip here in a second with Trump saying he's doing this for everybody else, but the average person is not getting access to classified information and top secret information. But the average person does have access to public buildings. He does have access to, you know, the White House, technically. I mean, you know, you're not getting that close to it right now, but to the Capitol building, all these things. And Lindsey Graham wants to say that the people that literally stormed the Capitol building trying to hang the former vice president, that is the same as just saying we can arrest any Republican for anything at any point. That is such a stupid argument. And there's no basis to be there for it. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. So let's go from that to a little more definitely not unhinged person. And that would be AM radio host and Fox News personality, I suppose. Mark Levin, who he's doing just fine, guys. And I'm gonna have to make sure that I am not he's not too loud for you guys.
Law. I mean, how many people have been prosecuted under the Espionage Act since 1917 who were president or vice president up until today? 0. And of course, you have the Hillary.
Yeah, that's true. 0 have done that, and also 0 have been arrested for any other crimes. And you know, that doesn't mean that we should just say, oh, we can just ignore it. It's totally fine. There's nothing to see here. That would be the two-tiered justice system, but not the one that they want to talk about.
Hillary Clinton example. You know Hillary Clinton was never investigated for obstruction, Sean? They didn't even investigate her.
She was only investigated probably a dozen times, showed up to how many countless different testimonials and trials and special counsels and whatever names you want to throw onto it. And look, I'm not the biggest Hillary Clinton supporter and fan, but like Hillary Clinton was under oath like dozens of time in Congress testifying with regards to Benghazi and a million other kind of, I don't know what you want to call them, committees trying to get her on something, and they just couldn't because there was nothing there. And you could say that the Clintons are corrupt and they have all these foundations and whatever. Okay, go look into that. Go look into that. That's fine. You can have at it. I'm not going to stand for Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, who Trump says that he likes Bill Clinton anyway. But that's besides the point.
And so the Espionage Act, I would argue, doesn't apply to any former president or any former vice president under the Presidential Act.
Except the fact that you're not the president anymore.
Him. He alone. Everything else flows from him. Trying to help Clinton in 2012, and the Department of Justice should know all about it. It was the case involving the socks, the sock drawer. Bill Clinton keeps these tapes, which have highly classified information on them, in his sock drawer. Was that Congress had decided the president and the president alone. This entire prosecution.
There was I believe it was a Supreme Court case about what he's alluding to with Bill Clinton's sock drawer. So just so you know, and Trump calls it the sock draw.
Comes from the criminalization of the case. The wrong statute. The wrong statute. So you know what? These people are fascistic and Marxist. That's what.
These guys are, quote, fascistic and Marxist. I'm sorry, but this is how stupid that hosts like Mark Levin think that the average American is. He doesn't think that you know, or that the average person would know what fascism is, which, okay, maybe that's the case. Maybe because as we're basically, what is it, the frogs in the boiling water? I don't know if it's frogs, but whatever. That slowly boiling water, maybe people aren't recognizing some of the fascistic natures and dictatorial and authoritarian aspects of not the Democrats, the Republican Party right now. Because guess what? Which party is banning books right now? Which party is attacking free speech right now? Which party is otherizing and being xenophobic consistently going after LGBTQ plus people, going after immigrants, otherizing all of them, consistently otherizing black Americans throughout the history of this country. It's not the Democratic Party, I'll tell you that. So, of course, because fascism to them, it just means being mean, meanie. No. Fascism has core tenets to it, and we could go through it if we really wanted to and pull up I believe it's 10 points of like fascism, but it's basically nationalism mixed with xenophobia, intertwining with the economy. You know, all these different things are at play all at once, but authoritarian nature basically layered in there. And it is a, by definition, far-right ideology. Marxism, which Levin has a book on his desk that he wrote called American Marxism. Marxism is not a ideology that is expressed in America in any real form. Even the Democrats won't even touch socialism. So when we talk about Marxism, which is a more broad critique of capitalism, he's not even talking about I'm sure he thinks socialism is the same as communism, which is whatever. They think you are so dumb that you think Marxism and fascism are the same thing. Even if you want to say that, like, let's just take Marxism as broad socialism. Let's just use that as the frame that we could work with. If we just say socialism is on the left, then fascism would be on the right. They're not even close to being the same. You can, by definition, cannot be a Marxist fascist. You could be an authoritarian Marxist, but it wouldn't be a fascist. There are two different things. It's the same thing with being like, cultural Marxism, man. It's like, dude, that's just a dog whistle that you've adopted because you can't say the words that you want to say, which are not dog whistles and not allusions to, you know, who you think are running things. Tucker Carlson, I'm looking at you, buddy. Mark Levin, of course, being the unhinged lunatic he is, leading the way on Fox News. But he's not the only one. We have loser, Mike Lindell, Mike Pillow, at Bedminster, New Jersey, at Trump's golf course.
Here's what I think. Ron DeSantis and any others should just endorse our great real president, Donald Trump, and do it.
The great real president, as opposed to the great fake president, Joe Biden. There are a number of people, and I should point this out to you guys because you might not have heard this. There are a lot of people, some of which are probably at Bedminster in this video, but many of them in Miami, where Trump was arrested, that believe that Trump is still the president, Biden is an actor, aka Biden, the real Biden is not alive. He's played by an actor, the same way that people thought that there was a stunt double of Hillary Clinton back in 2016, 2015 when she had heat stroke and fell over. They think that Trump is in command because the military has taken control and they're using Biden to show what it could be like so that they can elect Trump in 2024 to make sure that we can actually finish the job of making America great again. That is a type of insanity we're dealing with. But Mike Lindell, one of Trump's biggest fans, wants all of the other GOP candidates to drop out and support Trump because he is the real president. The great and real president, not the fake one. Promise you, not the fake one.
Tonight. Do it right now. It's over. What this hoax of an indictment did was just solidify Donald Trump as the Republican candidate for our...
That might be the case. That might be the case.
For our great, for our presidents. And here's what I think.
That might be the case that Trump is, crowned the Republican nominee after these indictments because his sycophants and his fans don't really care about this stuff. They're just like, yeah, we don't care. We think it's the deep state coming after him. But, of course, it's not really it. So here we have a line that I think you guys will enjoy. This is one I'm going to probably play a few times because the delivery is just impeccable, and I think you guys will enjoy it. This is how Trump feels about the case.
I did everything right and they indicted me. I did everything right and they indicted me. I did everything right and they indicted me.
I did everything right and they indicted me. Whiny little, you could fill in the blank. That's a old Bill Maher bit about Trump. And, you know, Bill Maher now probably is a DeSantis guy for all I know. But whiny little baby, we'll just say that. Here's actually what Trump kind of closed his speech on. I was going to bed listening to this, so you can imagine my my nightmares.
They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple.
Oh, is that the case?
They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. They want you silent. And I am...
Remember, he's saying that they, meaning the deep state, the left, whatever you want to say, the cultural Marxists, want to silence you. I don't know how. I would love to know what they think that they can't say. I would love to hear them say it. But they want to silence you. However, the case that he is facing right here, right now, is essentially one of the most unique types of cases that one of us could ever face. Because we don't have access to classified documents. So when he's saying they're coming after you, how? Do I have classified documents that I'm refusing to give to the Library of Congress, even after multiple requests prior to charges, criminal charges? No, I don't. And even if I did, I would never let it get to the point where I was just denying, and keeping them because no, I need them. Keeping them in my bathroom where Trump probably takes really, quote, as he talks about Philadelphia's vote coming in, massive dumps and flushes the toilet 15 to 20 times to get his papers to go down the toilet because that is also proven fact. No. Trump is doing it for you.
I'm the only one that can save this nation because you know they're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never be moving.
Wow. That's so inspiring.
On November 5th, 2024, justice will be done. We will take back
the country, and we will make America great again.
Our country, and we will make America great again.
It's not that new. It's not that inspiring. There's nothing that you can't predict that he's going to say at this point, because other than I did nothing wrong and they indicted me, because he is basically on a script with all of these things. He is getting investigated now. Well, he's been arrested twice. He's being investigated in Georgia for trying to steal the election, and he is being investigated federally for January 6th for potentially leading and inspiring an insurrection against the United States government. It was a perfect phone call. I never did anything with Vladimir Zelensky. Ukraine, all that. Perfect call. I did nothing wrong. That is usually the calling card of somebody that is innocent. Somebody that just, has to scream out they did nothing wrong. That's usually how it goes. But that's really what we have right now for Trump. I'm sure more and more will come. Let's jump into the 2024 race, okay? I want to talk to you about the Republican primary and the Green Party. I'm going to start off with two people that have no shot. Well, all of these people have no, in my opinion, have no shot at actually becoming the next president of the United States. Full transparency up front. But they warrant some coverage. The former vice president of the United States, Mike Pence, if you haven't heard, which there is a possibility that you have not heard this, is running against Donald Trump in the primary against Trump, DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, and Tim Scott. And as you'll find out, one other Republican. I'm trying to pull up the polls real quick, just so we have some visual to what I'm talking about. So here we go. This is from... Yes, Mickey, I did say Mike Pence. Mike Pence is running. He has announced his campaign, and here you can see it. This is 538's aggregation of polls. As of today, actually, you see Trump with 53.4%. We'll go down here. DeSantis with 21.4%. And coming in a distant third is Michael Pence, the former Indiana governor and vice president, at 5.5%. Now, Mike Pence is running. He has no differentiation, and this is why he'll be quick. He will be very, very quick in what we are talking about today. But Mike Pence must be a glutton for punishment, because he is about to get absolutely bodied if he can actually get on a debate stage with Trump. That is my opinion. Like, Meatball Ron might struggle. DeSantis might struggle, and he's going to be, shaking in his cowboy boots against Trump. And that I genuinely believe that, to be honest with you. But Mike Pence has no differentiation from Trump policy-wise. He was his vice president. So if you are trying to criticize the administration, how can you do that when you're the vice president? So that's a very tight and fine line you have to walk. And how can you differentiate him when and really win over Trump supporters when a small portion of them, if I'm being generous, that were at the Capitol wanted to literally hang you? And they believe, a lot of Republicans believe, that Mike Pence had the ability to basically overturn the election, which he didn't. He did the right thing. Like, let's be clear here. Mike Pence did the right thing when it comes to certifying the election and leading that. But that doesn't make him a good person. It doesn't make him a good presidential candidate, and it most certainly will not be somebody that catches on with the Republican Party. Now, the second person you will see is actually not even polling high enough that you see him on here. I don't even think I am curious if he is included in even any of these polls at this point. Yeah, there we go. In the more recent polls, because Mike Pence and Christie, the young whippersnapper from New Jersey, is taking another shot at the presidency. Now, you see here, Christie is at 2% in the YouGov poll. In The Economist, he's about 2%. Can't find any in that one. Let's go Ipsos. Christie at 2%. Quinnipiac, that has him at 4%. So between 2 and 4%. That is where you find Chris Christie. Now, I'll point this out. And Mickey asks, what's the strategy? Who's doing the moves? The strategy is this. And this is my opinion. There's no fact to this opinion. It is just that. So take it as it is. Some of these people are vying to be vice president, i.e. Nikki Haley. I don't think Tim Scott, I know for a fact Mike Pence would not be it again, and I know for a fact Ron DeSantis wouldn't be it again, or a possibility for it. Chris Christie is running probably to sell books, to get a media tour, to go on and get a media job. He had a media job, but maybe he wants a pay raise. Who knows? Or maybe he wants to make up for the fact that in 2016 through 2020, he was kind of a bootlicker. So the move is that there are 4, 2 state and 2 federal, and, who knows what else comes out. 2 state, 2 federal investigations into Trump that could potentially sideline him. That could possibly put him in jail. Now, I don't think he will go to jail. I don't think he will ever go to jail. Do I think he should go to jail? That's a different question. We could see that as the trials go on. But I don't believe that he ever will. Again, 2-tier justice system. However, if he is so sidelined that he cannot really campaign in 2024, there is the off chance that he could lose in the primary, or there's basically 3 options. He could lose in the primary. One of these trials could actually put him in jail, which doesn't preclude somebody from running for president, by the way. W.E.B. Du Bois got 15%, I believe, in the 1924 election, I think it was, as a socialist candidate. And he was in prison. So it's not wholly unprecedented. It is unprecedented to have somebody in jail win. But, of course, the Republicans don't want former inmates to be able to vote. That's another conversation. The third option is that, and you could this is the third option, applies both sides here, is that Trump or Joe Biden, for that matter, they're both very old. So with Trump, let's just say going through the stress of going through all these things, or maybe it's just his time, passes on. One of them basically has to step up to fill in that void. I mean, the Democrats have the same potential issue. I mean, this is not wishing ill upon anyone, just so we're clear. But if the 2 candidates that are running are basically 82 and 79 respectively, I think it's the right ages, it is not completely out of the question to think about that and say, what if? We have to have a contingency plan. So some of these people are just running for the sake of it. Vivek Ramaswamy being one of them. Nobody knew who that guy was before, right? So I would have never known if he didn't run for president, right? So there's somebody like that. Here's a difference as I pull up this video, though. Chris Christie is actually running in a little bit of an interesting tact. And this is why I think that he is vying for some media space. But let's just see.
He's a failed leader. We gave him a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and he failed. He failed us, Bill. And he failed us by losing the House, by losing the Senate, and by turning over the White House to Joe Biden and the most liberal administration and an effective administration since Jimmy Carter.
That's kind of true. That's kind of true. Now, I think the most liberal administration since Jimmy Carter is kind of a low bar, but whatever. I mean, that's fine. We've talked about this. Joe Biden's first 2 years, now he's kind of, stymied, but the first 2 years were pretty decent for Joe Biden. So, from a progressive perspective. Now, Christie's a Republican, so he doesn't agree with that, but, this analysis is pretty true.
Is that the type of leadership we want, or do we want someone who is governed in a blue state, showing you can win independent voters, got 61% of the vote for re-election, in a state like New Jersey as a Republican and worked with a
It is worth noting that like states like New Jersey and Massachusetts and other like I think maybe even Rhode Island, Maryland, maybe like these like northeastern states sometimes vote for, you know, quote moderate Republicans. They don't go for the ones that are extremely bigoted or anything like that. So Chris Christie, of course, being the notorious for getting absolutely crapped on for hugging Barack Obama after Hurricane Sandy, if you can recall that, because he was too soft on Obama after devastation wiped, you know, I don't know how many people died in Sandy and just destroyed and ravaged parts of New Jersey, but he hugged Obama, so he's soft. That's the Republican Party that they've built. Now, he's partly to blame, Chris Christie is. So this is not to toot his horn, but just to say, like, he's saying some true stuff here.
Democratic legislature to get pension reform, to fire the Camden City Police Department, leading to a 75% reduction in the murder rate, and gave more educational choice than in any blue state in the country. More charter schools.
Yeah, see, like, that's not a good thing, but that exists. Like, he's playing at both sides here a little bit, saying like, oh, we did this and that with the Democrats, and of course, I don't know. Mickey's asking in chat if he flew his son in a chopper. I don't know. But the most important scandal for Chris Christie is, of course, the bridge scandal. So he can take that up, I suppose, with Trump on the debate stage. Let's see. There's another clip I want to get over quick that I think is... Here we go.
The leader in this country who you have handed leadership to, who has never made a mistake, who has never done anything wrong, who when something goes wrong, it's always someone else's fault, and who has never lost. I've lost. You people did that to me in 2016. Where?
Yeah, so, like, he's actually going after Trump. I mean, I have, like, a bunch of these clips where he is going after him, but it's worth pointing out that if he can get on the debate stage and Trump participates, it would be interesting. Remember that Chris Christie absolutely embarrassed little Marco on the debate stage when he kept repeating the same lines about Obama. And, you know, like, look, Chris Christie is not, like, a good presidential candidate. But of the Republican candidates so far, he's the only one really going after Trump. And I can applaud him for that, because I think he said it himself. The only way to the Republican nomination is through Trump, not around him. So, you know, kudos for actually running a real campaign against him. Not just saying, I'm here too. But that's, you know, we'll see how it plays out for him. So let's go to... I actually want to cover one other thing before we go into the Pennsylvania Democratic Party. This is an interesting clip of California governor, somebody that, you know, again, not a huge fan of. Like, a lot of these big leaders kind of have opportunities to, especially in California or in New York, have the opportunity to really lead and like really move the needle. California, I believe, is the 5th or 4th largest economy in the world. So there's plenty of critiques to have about Gavin Newsom, but he went on Sean Hannity's program and absolutely spanked him. Let's take a look.
For our president, I have great confidence in his leadership.
I don't want him to fail.
Been able to accomplish.
I think his policies are failing.
CHIPS Act.
That's always something. Like, I'm gonna cut it back here in a second, but Republicans, I've heard this thrown at me when Trump got elected, and people were saying like, "Oh, you just want him to fail. You just want him to fail. You just want him to fail." That's not the case. Like, we don't want people to fail. I would like him to fail necessarily if he got into the president. Let's just take DeSantis, because he's probably not gonna be president. Well, let's just run with it. If DeSantis became president, I wouldn't want him to fail as a president. I would want him to fail in implementing his campaign promises. There's a difference. I wouldn't want somebody to get publicly humiliated and be a jackass in the international stage, tank the economy, dismantle our education system, have our healthcare system fall apart, all these different things, right? I wouldn't want him to do that. I wouldn't want him to be able to go after LGBTQ kids or the community at large or, whatever, erode civil rights. But yeah, that's the meatball platform, according to CB there. That is the actual platform. He's running on that. You can look it up on his website. DeSantis.com. But I would want somebody that's the leader, to succeed in keeping things going, being a leader in times of crises, actually putting forth messaging, rhetoric, strength, etc. Yeah, so Mickey said, I'd like to see Gavin Newsom run for president. I mean, he'd probably be more progressive than Joe Biden in many cases. That's the thing. It's like we're working with the dynamics of the current system. So it's like, well, is Gavin Newsom who I would want the California governor to be? No. He'd probably be great for and I mean great. He's been doing things that are absolutely great if he was in Wisconsin, which is a swing state. These are the things that we have to remember. California, he's got really no shot. He had no shot of losing, so he should be leading with a bold, progressive. This is my opinion. I believe this in the most bluest of areas is where you should really be moving the needle, and you don't have to be radical. You just have to be moving the Overton window.
CHIPS Act, Science Act. Do you oppose that?
I will tell you on every measure, from the economy, inflation, borders, energy, national security, he's missing in action.
Let's talk about them in order.
Hang on.
So he goes, Hannity just goes, oh, the economy, inflation, the border, national security, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Gavin Newsom wants to try to go, oh, let's go one for one. Well, I'll talk to you about each one of those.
Wait, but I want to challenge the
So
president.
Sean Hannity goes, no, please, no.
You said the economy, 13.1 million jobs he's created. More.
These are post-COVID jobs. Okay. You know that. That's an artificial number.
No. Then let me stipulate this as an opportunity to engage civilly on this.
Okay.
Fair point. Your president, Donald Trump, lost 2.6 million jobs during his 4 years. We've created 13.1 million. Fine, you can maintain a COVID frame. How about the fact that Joe Biden's created more jobs, 6 times more jobs, than the previous 3 Republican presidents combined?
Are you going to
Yeah, I don't know how loud that was, but 6 times the amount of jobs created under all the former, the last, what did he say, 3 presidents, Republican presidents combined. That is enormous job growth. And remember, this is not to say that the American economy is great right now. It's not to say that it's thriving and that wages are going up and all this stuff, right? Okay, there are problems. Inflation, he'll talk about it. Inflation has hit a low, a 2-year low this month. So when we look at these processes and we look at the indicators that we're comparing here, Democrats historically have done better with the economy. That might just be luck, if you want to talk about it that way, but it also might be the incentive structures that are put into place. Also, when we talk about the jobs, it is fair to say that we lost jobs under Trump partially due to COVID. Okay, let's take that. That doesn't mean that all the jobs just miraculously come back and then there's a massive surplus of jobs added to just because COVID happened. In a second here, Hannity's going to talk about inflation, and then when Gavin Newsom brings up, well, COVID actually affects inflation because of the supply chains, all these different things, he just goes, no, you can't have that. So he's trying to have it both ways and say COVID didn't affect inflation, but it definitely affects jobs.
tell me
Sean.
that the average family, where we have 2/3 of Americans now living paycheck to paycheck.
It was
we have-
70% under
Hang on.
Trump. That was
That's not
70%.
true.
It was
Under Donald
70% under Donald Trump.
Pre-COVID,
It was
we had
higher
the lowest
under Trump.
unemployment rate for every demographic. Now,
We have the lowest
let
black
me-
unemployment.
So just Newsom's going to list these off, and this is great. We have a 50-year, 50, not 50-year low unemployment, a historic unemployment, low black unemployment. But Hannity wants to talk about Trump's really good unemployment rates, which he also, like, I will completely concede this is because of COVID, but he also had a historic highs in unemployment. So when you're comparing the recovery under Joe Biden's administration, you actually have to consider we've had probably one of the fastest recoveries of a near global, basically a global catastrophe that there's been.
In history, and you and I are living with the lowest unemployment in our lifetime, Sean.
We
You
had it
can't
for
make that
every
up.
demographic, and the economy was
Black
humming along.
unemployment's record low under
Yep.
Joe Biden.
Okay, we had historic low after historic low under Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
And it's even lower now.
I mean, but he's
here's what I don't
cleaned
wanna have
Trump's clock, Biden, in terms of the progress in job creation. Look at what he's done on
so
jobs.
What would you grade?
So it doesn't get to it in this clip, but the inflation part is also mentioned there.
For our president, I have great.
He also talks about California and comparison to DeSantis. I think you should go watch the interview if you can. If you go find it online or on YouTube or whatever, it's on probably on Fox Nation if they haven't deleted it already, because Hannity got absolutely bodied. So let's jump into this last bit here. And I have some articles about it, but the articles have like insane amount of ads, so I'd rather not show them just because like it's just so much. Stephen Caruso, if you guys don't already follow him and you live in Pennsylvania, he's a great reporter that just tweets out all the different stuff that happens in Harrisburg. So give him a follow if you haven't already. But just this week, Democrats in the state house, pass a few different pieces of legislation that are, I think, giant steps in the right direction. So this one obviously is not just Democrats, but is led by the Democrats. The Pennsylvania House has passed 122 to 81 a state earned income tax credit, giving families making under $60K a year forgiveness or a refund on their state income taxes equal to 25% of their federal benefits. It'll give $1.4 billion back to taxpayers in the next 4 years. So as we look at these numbers, the Trump tax cuts in 2017 gave massive tax cuts to the wealthiest Americans in the country. It gave massive tax cuts to the multi-billion-dollar companies, and it kind of screwed the average American, other than doubling the standard deduction, which I will say is a good part of that bill. If I was to keep anything out of the 2017 tax cut provision, whatever you want to call it, the tax scam, the GOP tax scam, is that's the only good thing that came out of that, in my opinion. The tax forgiveness that you will see for people under $60,000. So remember, this is a family under $60,000. I'd have to see how it applies to individuals. It might be split in half. I don't know. But just so you can grasp, that is not all that much money for a family. We're not talking about a 22-year-old kid gets paid $60K, which, okay, fine. That they might be part of this group, but it's a very small part of the group because the average American is earning significantly less than $60K. So this is, as the report says, $1.4 billion back to taxpayers in the next 4 years. Now, I have to, caveat and say, if obviously this is probably not going to pass in the Senate, but if it were to pass in the Senate, as we'll see, what the tax cuts are cutting. So because unlike, as we talked about with our discussion of the deficit myth, unlike the federal government, state governments pretty much have to, unless there's like some other weird exception. Pennsylvania is one of the states that has to have a balanced budget. So you cannot, or surplus. So you cannot just, start spending inordinate amounts of money, cut taxes, and just run a deficit. That's just not how it works. So depending on what the cuts are too, then this could be great. And it puts more money back into the hands of the people, which will stimulate the economy, which is good because you will see that the student loan debt forgiveness falling through and having people have to pay that stuff back is going to probably impact the economy negatively too. So just maybe that'll help some Pennsylvanians, even that out. The second big progressive thing that has passed this week in the House, which I believe it passed by one vote, which that's all the Democrats only have a 1-vote majority. So that's why I knew the other one wasn't just passed by Democrats. The Pennsylvania House Democrats voted to pass a $15 minimum wage bill with CPI, Consumer Price Index, increases and 60% tipped wage out of committee today with zero fanfare and could pass. So that's his opinion on it, right? But the $15 minimum wage is very big. If we could get that to pass in Pennsylvania, it will not pass in Pennsylvania, but it is something that will, push it forward, message, rhetoric, get it out there. People should think about it. And CPI is a Consumer Price Index, which is the inflation rate. So basically saying we'll get it to 15% or $15 an hour, and we will tag it to inflation, and it'll functionally never become an issue again. That is to a T what we should be doing. Now, do I think a $15 minimum wage at this point is good enough? Probably not. Because we've been saying $15 minimum wage for almost 10 years. So we have to keep that in mind as my nose is running. We have to keep that in mind is that 10 years ago, $15 minimum wage was like what we were asking. So in 2023, is $18 minimum wage the norm? Is that too low? Should be 20? And remember that when you raise the minimum wage like this, it goes up in a step. So it would be like 2024 would be, because remember, for those that aren't in Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania minimum wage is the federal minimum wage that is $7.25 an hour. So if we go from $7 to $9.50 to $12 to whatever the steps are over the 3 or 4 years, that's how you get there and tag it to inflation. But if you were to just say, like, let's get it to 18 over 5 years, that's how you reduce the risk of inflation, but also increase real wages for people. So this is good. This is the type of legislation that needs to be passed. It needs to be looked at by other state houses and state senates. Maybe places that actually have a actual likelihood of passing it would be good. But, Pennsylvania, next year, we might have a chance to flip some of these state Senate seats, so stay tuned. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching or listening, wherever you are watching and or listening. If you are on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. Smash the subscribe button, I should say. Destroy it. And hit the thumbs up button while you are on the video. You can follow us on, I'm forgetting what I say. Jeez, this is the brain fog kicking in. You can follow the show on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, Greater Society Media. You can follow me on Twitter at Con O'Hanlon, and you can support the show for as little as $3 a month at patreon.com/Greater Society Media. Join our Discord server. You can do that by going to the link in the description of this video. And if you listen to the podcast or you want to listen to the podcast rather than seeing my ugly face, come on, you want to see everything. It's worthwhile. You should watch it on YouTube. But if you can't watch it on YouTube or it takes too much bandwidth, you can listen to the program on Apple or on Spotify or anywhere you get your podcast, basically. So do that, follow, subscribe, whatever the proper term is for whatever platform you listen on. But with all that being said, I'm working on getting what I think is a really cool guest. I think he will probably come on. I don't know exactly how fast I can get him on, but if you guys have suggestions for guests or for any other topics you want to see covered, throw them in the Discord or email us at greatersocietymedia@gmail.com. But until next time, stay safe. Peace.